Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to Conservative Circle. And today on Conservative Circle, I'm honored to have someone that does not share the same views as me, but what we do share is that we are Americans and we are patriots that love this country. And now I am pleased to welcome Democratic congressional candidate for Florida's 1st congressional district, Gay Valimont. Thanks so much for joining.
Jeffrey. Thank you, Jeffrey, for having me. This is really nice. I appreciate it.
Well, absolutely. So, first, I just want to ask you, who is Gay Valimont and why are you running for Congress?
Well, let me tell you. So this is the third time, technically, that I ran for Congress. um, but the reason that this is how it all came down. So I'm an athletic trainer. I work in sports medicine,
Mhm.
and I've done that for years. I had a beautiful child named Eli and my husband, Brian. And in 2015, we moved here from downtown Atlanta. And with my experience in downtown Atlanta, I worked in predominantly black high schools. My athletes were, 200-pound linemen, 300-pound linemen that were going to Auburn or Tennessee or Florida. But because they were black, they had to live differently. So I got involved in gun violence prevention, primarily because I saw what they had to live through in their daily lives. And when I moved to Florida, I became the leader of Moms Demand Action for the entire state of Florida. And that was through the shooting at Parkland and through the shootings that happened at Pulse nightclub. And through my work in gun violence prevention, I learned how to navigate the political system to talk to legislators. And everybody kept saying, Gay, you should run for office. You should run for office. Well, at the time, I had an 8-year-old, and I didn't have time to run for office. I had a child. So in 2020, my husband was diagnosed with ALS. ALS is a disease that takes every bit of muscle away from you, including your muscles that expand and contract your lungs. So essentially, and it's a fatal disease. 6 months after my perfectly normal 45-year-old husband was diagnosed, my 8-year-old was diagnosed with a terminal brain tumor.
Mm.
And both of them were terminal. And so I quit doing everything and all of my outreach, stopped working to take care of my family full time. Well, let's see, 4 years ago, my son died 6 months before my husband did. And my husband's been gone 4 years. So Eli's been gone 4.5. My husband's been gone 4. And as I was sitting, the the best way for me to describe it is the only way I could find peace was to sit in front of the water. And so I did that for about 6 months. And I sat on Pensacola Beach and stared at the water and stared at the water because that was the only thing that brought me solace. And I got an alert on my phone that said Matt Gaetz had filed a federal stand your ground bill. And I know that when Matt Gaetz passed stand your ground in Florida, I fought him then, but our gun homicide rate went up 32%. And I could not see that happening nationally. I could not let that happen to our country because I love our country. And so, for the first time after my family died, I felt a fire in my belly. Like I can do something about this, and there's no better person to fight Matt Gaetz on this than me. And so I entered the race against Matt. I didn't do so great. Still lost by 30 points. It took me that entire race just to let people know that my name is Gay, Gay, because people didn't know me. And then he resigned 8 days after he beat me, and we went straight into the special election. So it was kind of like I ran straight 22 months straight. And and Patronus decided he was going to run, though he doesn't live in our district. And then he was my opponent. And this is a R plus 37 district. So Trump won by 37 points.
Yeah.
in this district in 24. And I
Hmm.
lost my election to Jimmy Petronas by 14 points. So I gained 22 points back in our column, and I turned Escambia County blue for the first time in 30 years. So that is the reason that I'm running again this time. I tried to give space for other people to run, and nobody came to the top. So people kept telling me, Gay, you gave us hope. You gave us hope. We know you now. You got to run again. So that's why I'm back in it. I'm back in it to make sure our down ballot candidates get the attention they deserve. And I'm back in it because I have a lot of work to do for the people of this district. I care about the people of this district.
Yeah. Let me just start off by saying I am deeply sorry for your loss, for your husband and for your son. That is just a horrible tragedy.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I don't tell you that, I don't say that lightly. I tell people that because that's part of who I am, and I
Hmm.
cannot skip over that part of my life.
No. And now I want to ask you, what are your thoughts on the Democratic Party today?
Well, let me tell you, I believe both parties have lost their way. Um, and I have to tell you, my relationship with the Democratic Party is not what you might think. The Democratic Party, I think when people say they're going to run for office, like they think the party's going to come in and give them a whole bunch of money and tell them how to do everything. That was not the case with me. It wasn't the case at all. Not in my first election and barely in my second election. Even though, Matt Gaetz was in the headlines pretty much every day. He had just ousted the Speaker of the House. The Democratic Party didn't get behind me because to them it was a losing race. There was no reason to get in it. So I had no national support, and I had no support from the Florida Democratic Party. In the second election, the National Democratic Party, who swore they were going to fight everywhere, even in the reddest districts, which we were the reddest district in Florida, they said they were going to come in and help, and they didn't do a thing to help, not one penny. So when people say, "Oh, she's backed by Soros and all those other big money people," I didn't get any money from from the Democratic Party, and the Florida Democratic Party gave me access to vote builders. So that was the extent of that. I believe the Democrats have gotten too comfortable in our voting block. I believe that the Florida Democrats only focus on the places that they know they can win. They focus on Tampa, they focus on Orlando, they focus on Broward County, but they don't spend any money on the panhandle because to them it's a losing race. But I'm saying you have good candidates, you have to invest. And not even, I didn't need their money. I didn't need their money. I needed their surrogates. I wanted Raphael Warnock to come here and have souls to the polls. I wanted uh, some of our military people to come here and talk to our vets. That's what I wanted. Amy McGrath did come and do a town hall with me, a veteran town hall, so that was awesome, but not through the Democratic Party. We did that on our own. So when we couldn't get their surrogates, we paid for 2 Chainz to come and have a concert instead.
So, I asked you your thoughts on the Democratic Party. Now I want to ask you your thoughts on the Republican Party. What are
Yeah.
your thoughts there?
Yeah, let me preface this by saying I grew up, my father was a Republican, a Reagan Republican, and my mother was a Democrat. And I like to tell people I got the good genes. But I've been having this conversation with Republicans my entire life. I know how to talk to Republicans, and I feel like we need a two-party system that works. We need we need fiscally responsible Republicans that are going to keep the Democrats from spending too much money. That is what we need. We need both parties to function so that our government functions as it was set up, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like the Republican Party's lost their way. They have, they're supposed to be America first, and they're supposed to, not add to the deficit, which is, they're supposed to be deficit hawks. And now our deficit is over 39 trillion, and it has climbed with every Trump presidency. It has increased and increased. And when Republicans stand up and say, I'm trying to make sure that we don't leave debt for our children. Well, if you're not going to do something about keeping Trump in line and adding to our deficit, then you're lying. I miss the old Republicans. I miss Reagan Republicans. And I miss having cordial conversations about our differences in politics. It used to be a kind of a gentleman's agreement, which sounds very sexist, but a gentleman's agreement when you talk about politics, in that we may not agree on, we can agree on these specific problems, right? And we have different ideas of how to solve them. But we bring both of those to the table, and both sides aren't going to get what they want, everything that they want, but you'll get something. And that's the art of compromise. That's the art of the deal, not what we're doing now. Congress right now has kneecapped themselves, and both parties have become unimportant.
Yeah. And now your top priorities. So what are your top priorities? And if you're elected, how will you make sure your top priorities will be implemented?
Well, Jeffrey, I'm going to work my ass off is the first thing I would say. But the first thing is affordability. And I know that's become like a weird word that everybody uses. But what that means is kids your age are never going to be able to afford a house. It means right now we go to the grocery store and you can't spend less than $100 to make dinner. And if you have a family of 5, it's more than that. Everyday goods are so expensive. And look at our farmers are going through, they can't, between tariffs and the war, they can't afford fertilizer. Our gas prices are out of control. We have to get all of these things in order. One of the things that I support where affordability is the issue is the 21st Century Road to Housing Act. Now, Senator Warren and check me on this, the Republican from South Carolina the Black Republican that ran for
Tim Scott.
Yes, yes. They sponsored this bill together in the Senate, and it passed overwhelmingly in a bipartisan fashion. But Mike Johnson will not hear this bill in the House. Now, let me tell you what this bill does. It checks large corporations who go in and swoop up apartment buildings and housing so that they can hike up prices. That's the first thing, corporate interest. It also reduces the prices for goods to build houses or to build structures. Because if we have more houses, then the price of housing goes down. It just makes sense. The more properties you have, the less rent or payments that you have. So that is one of the things that I think has to be done immediately. Those things can go into action today so that when you get out of college, you can afford to buy a house, or you'll have a path to buying a house or paying rent for the rest of your life, whichever you prefer, but not going broke doing it. I think we have to crack down on the corporations who are inflating the prices artificially. So like during COVID, our prices went up really high, right? For goods and stuff because the supply chain problem. We fixed the supply chain problem, but prices didn't come down because we live in a free market. Everybody's supposed to, charge whatever you want to for your goods. But prices went up and they never came down from COVID. And then Biden just kind of flatlined it and kept us where we were. Inflation was going down, trickling down slowly under Biden. And then once Trump came into office and he enacted tariffs, prices went back up, went further up. And now that the Supreme Court has ruled that tariffs are illegal, prices still have not come down.
But we were seeing gas going down
Yes,
Um,
that was the one thing that we could count on.
mhm,
That gas was doing okay. And now that we are in the war, gas
yeah, I
prices
mean,
in the Strait of Hormuz has the blockade, and it's
I mean,
still not flowing like
yeah,
it should.
here
Gas
in
prices
Northwest
have gone
Florida,
up.
we're at like $4 here.
Yep.
It's
National average is 4.12.
ridiculous. And I actually have a job. I'm working now. Been working for like 8, 9 months. So I understand these things. I also pay taxes, which is funding this war.
Exactly. Exactly. And is that what you want your tax dollars to go to?
Oh well, no.
No. There are so many things that our tax dollars, and I know that for Republicans, the leaning on what the federal government can do for a state is not ideal. But we pay those taxes, and our tax dollars should show us something, should work for us. We put that money into the government. We should get that money out. We should be able to fix our roads and bridges. We should be able to go to the grocery store and not pay $100 for a lunch.
Hmm.
We should fill up our car for less than $100.
Well, I want to talk about this now. Your campaign ad video did really well on social media. Especially I saw it on Instagram. It got
Hmm.
over, I don't know, 4K likes or something.
Yeah,
That was that did amazing, I have to say. Now
pretty
let's
funny.
just yeah, I will say, yeah, I did like it. Let's go ahead and play that clip.
Okay.
Welcome to Florida's first congressional district, Jimmy Petronis. I'm going to give you a little tour today since you don't actually live here. You know, in case you want to visit sometime. Our home has a unique culture, a rich military history, and a food and music scene that's worth the visit. When you get here, you better slow down for the 3 Mile Bridge speed trap. It's pretty easy to miss. Most tourists do, but we'll forgive you this time. You have to spare some time for our district's vibrant art scene. Well, that turned out pretty damn good. And in case you get hungry, we'll save you a plate, because we treat strangers like our own. There's so many reasons to visit our district. But what really makes this place special is its people, especially the ones who step up to represent their hometown. Jimmy, your choices have left us with some serious challenges. Cost of food, housing, insurance, just to name a few. Hell, we're bigger than some numbers on a spreadsheet. And we deserve a full-time leader, not a part-time tourist. That's why I'm running for Congress. District 1, I want to represent you because I'm one of you. It's gonna take all of us, y'all. So dust yourself off and find something orange. Jimmy, bless your heart. We hope you enjoyed your visit, but we'll take it from here. I'm Gay Valimont, and I approve this message.
So, did Jimmy Patronis actually criticize a cop?
Yeah. Yeah, it was all over the news. He went straight to social media after he came over the 3 Mile Bridge, and the cops always sit on the other side of the 3 Mile Bridge going into Gulf Breeze. And if you're from here, you know that.
Mhm.
And you slow down. Yeah, so he got really upset when he called it a speed trap, and then he said that it was illegal for them to, I don't know. It was like, yeah, he criticized the cops and said it was all their fault. And when in actuality, if he wasn't speeding, and he wouldn't have been stopped.
And now I want to just talk about what does supporting our military here look like? Has Jimmy even done that? Because he talked about how he would support our military. But has he done that?
He is not. Jimmy has done in and fact check me. I have yet to find a bill that he has passed. I'm not even sure if he sits on the Armed Services Committee. And if he doesn't, that's the first thing he should have asked for, because that'll be the first thing that I ask for, is to sit on the Armed Services Committee so that I can help make those decisions. So to answer your question, no, he's done nothing for our military. And what I've said from the beginning of my campaign the first time around is that I want to build a full service VA hospital here. And that's because we have the largest population of veterans in the state of Florida and second in the country. And so our veterans, we have a VA clinic that a year ago was at 130% capacity, meaning they weren't able to see doctors when they needed to. And there's certainly no emergency clinic. They have to be farmed out to all of our civilian doctors, and people like me and you have to wait with all the veterans to get a doctor's appointment or to have a colonoscopy or to have a mammogram or to all those things that they farm out to civilian healthcare. And our civilian healthcare is overran and wait times are long. What I'm saying is, for veterans, there's very specific care. For instance, my husband died of ALS. Military vets are 14 times more likely to get ALS than any other person in the world. They can't tie that specifically to one reason, but a lot of it has to do with jet fuel and PFAS and runoff and the things that planes require. We should have a clinic here that is specific for ALS patients, a state-of-the-art clinic, because you don't treat your vets like you treat a regular civilian. Their injuries go far beyond what a regular doctor should understand. We have doctors that are specific to the VA clinics that should have the things that they need to treat our veterans. And so I need $40 million to make that happen, and I can be quite persuasive. That's just one of the things. And I've had a hard time during this war because I believe that this war is illegal. I believe that we should not be in this war. But I've had a hard time. How do you message to our population of active duty military and in saying we support you fully, but I do not support this war. But the feedback that I'm getting from active duty and from retired military is we don't support this war either, and we have no way of knowing if we have to deploy, what's going to happen to my family, what is Trump going to do, what's the end game. So it's been difficult. That part has been difficult.
Yeah, and let's talk about that real quick. So the Iran conflict was there an imminent threat? And, many people on the MAGA side are saying, well, yeah, there was an imminent threat and da-da-da-da, but really there's no answer that they're giving. So was there an imminent threat, and how is this conflict affecting the people of this district?
Especially, there was no imminent threat. There was no more of a threat than there has been for the last 48 years, and even less of a threat since, what was it called? Midnight Hammer. We went in 3 months prior and blew up all of their arsenal of nukes or potential nuclear weapons. And to Trump, Trump said it himself, we obliterated them. There was nothing left. And then we went into Iran.
But was that of all parts? Did we totally obliterate all the parts?
Well, that's what we were told, right? We were told that they obliterated their nuclear arsenal. And if something's obliterated, that means it's gone. So I'm not entirely sure what the reasoning is. And I think that our vets and our active duty are having a hard time with that as well. Was there an imminent threat? I don't believe there was an imminent threat. I believe that this is a war of convenience. It's illegal for a president to enter a war or a conflict like this. They have to have congressional approval. And he did not consider Congress. And our House of Representatives has become completely useless.
Yeah. will this conflict affect the way people vote in this district?
I mean, I believe that it will. It also depends on how long this war goes. It's really difficult for the average person that doesn't invest in politics, meaning they don't check the news every day. They don't want to hear about it, but they are seeing what gas prices are doing to them. And if you want to see people's minds change, make them go broke. That's
Mhm.
how it's going to affect the midterms. And what I'm telling people is that Jimmy Petronis had a hat on at the State of the Union that said Trump was right about everything. I don't believe Trump is right about this. I believe Trump is not right about a lot of things, but I most definitely believe Trump is not right about this war. And we've already lost 13 of our service members. 13 people have died because of this conflict. So no, I I don't know if it'll change hearts and minds. I know that people vote by their wallet, and things are not getting any cheaper. And today, Trump said on Fox News that the gas prices aren't going to change, and they may even go up. And that was the price that we had to pay, and it was fine. People will get used to it. Well, he doesn't
Yeah.
know how regular Americans live
No.
because extra money, when gas used to be, when you used to pay $50 to fill up, and now you're paying 75 to fill up to go back and forth to work, that adds up quickly.
Yeah, I think Trump is going insane. I mean, he's disavowed some of his biggest supporters, like Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens, Alex Jones. Um, Something ain't right with the old grandpa. I'll just say that. Um,
Yeah.
and
He just doesn't care. I think he does not care about the American people. And he's not up for reelection. So
no.
he doesn't have to be nice or play nice to the American people anymore. He does what Donald Trump wants. And
Mhm.
and that's not good for the American people.
And now I want to show, because I do think that this could affect the elections here, because I mean we've seen it in just a few of these elections.
Yeah.
House 87 district and the district that Brian Nathan won, which that was like Trump's district or something.
Hmm.
So I think this is really you know playing a big part in this whole thing. So yeah,
Yeah, Emily Gregory is now Trump's state representative.
yeah, I don't think. Uh, but now I want to move on to APAC. We know what that is. That is the pro-Israel lobbyist. Well, I mean, our congressman here, Jimmy Petronis, has already received over $61,000, and what he does with that money is, of course, campaign with it. Um, if elected, will you take money from such interest?
Absolutely not. I've never taken corporate PAC money. I will never will take corporate PAC money. My money I raised, there's been a whole bunch of talk about how much money I raised, and I raised $9.8 million in the last election. And all of that money came from small dollar donors. I had over 350,000 individual donors that gave 5, 10, and $20. Um, when you take special interest money, that means you owe somebody something. They're not giving you money for free. They're giving you money because they want you to vote their way instead of thinking for yourself. So no, I won't take corporate PAC money. I also am against. I'm a part of a group of congressional candidates from across the country that supports all congressional members. They don't stock trade anymore. No stock trading as a congressional member. We support term limits, overturning Citizens United so that nobody owes corporate interest their votes. A lot of good things like code of ethics for the Supreme Court which they don't have now, which needs to be done. And I believe those things tell you who I am. I'm very transparent. My mom says I'm incapable of lying, and I can't be bought either.
Yeah. And now, going on to healthcare, that's one of your top priorities also, and the last one that we're going to talk about. So, what changes would you make to the healthcare system if elected?
Okay, so I don't know how familiar you are with how healthcare is how the pay system works. So, like when you go to the doctor or let's say you've had surgery on your shoulder and you're going to physical therapy, and at the end of your therapy they put an ice bag on you. Now, your health insurance company has negotiated with that healthcare facility how much they will pay for an ice bag. Sometimes it's $30, sometimes it's $300, but you'll never know until you get the bill, right? Until your insurance company sends you this, we paid for this, and now you pay for this portion of it. I believe that we should have one pay system for everything. I think that there should be for every insurance company, and this is part of the problem is that people don't know what they're paying when they leave the doctor's office. You don't know what you go in, say you're going in for a colonoscopy. They don't tell you what you're going to owe coming out. Or you go in and you have an appendectomy because it's emergency surgery. You have no idea because you can't figure it out because you have no idea what your insurance company has negotiated with that healthcare facility. I'm saying one pay scale for everything so that people, I mean, you wouldn't do that for your car, right? You wouldn't take your car in and say, just fix it, give me a bill at the end. You want to know, you want the mechanic to call you and say, now this is wrong and this is wrong and this is what it's going to cost. Can you afford to pay that? That's what I'm saying we should do with our health care.
Mm.
A lot of people say that's Medicare for all. Well, I don't care what you call it. Let's bill for one pay scale so that we know what we're going to pay when we leave the doctor's office. That's all I'm saying. I think that would cut down on a lot of confusion and a lot of medical debt because medical debt is a problem in this country. People are going into financial ruin because of medical debt, and that's unfair. And people should know what they're paying when they come out.
What do you say to people worried about their costs increasing?
Oh wow. I say settle in. It's gonna until we change Congress, until we dig into healthcare prices, it's gonna get worse. We need permanent subsidies for the Affordable Care Act because, for instance, my insurance, my personal healthcare insurance, went from $250 a month to $1,000 a month. $1,000 a month, which is practically unsustainable. And I can tell you it has put a pinch on my personal ability to live. And that's just I'm just one story. I hear this all the time. And with Medicaid cuts, we have kids now that have no health care. We have disabled Americans that have no health care. And I think there was some confusion. I think there's been some confusion about what Medicaid does. It is health care for children. You know, if we can't pay for our kids to have health care, and we can pay $1 billion a day for an illegal war, what kind of people are we? Our healthcare needs to be fixed, and it needs to be improved upon, and we need subsidies for the Affordable Care Act, and for more people to be in the pool than less, because the more people we have carrying insurance, the more it goes down. But now people have dropped out of the Affordable Care Act because they simply cannot afford it. Simply can't afford health care.
And the few last questions are going to be about your opponent, Jimmy Patronis. Is there anything that you can agree with him on?
Well,
Guess that's a hard one.
It is a very, very hard one. Since he has been in office, no. He has done nothing, because I get the newsletters. I get his newsletter every week to see I don't know what it's called, what Jimmy's up to or something. He's literally done nothing to improve the lives of Northwest Floridians. There's not one thing. The only actionable item that I think he's done was change the Pensacola Beach sign to Gulf of America instead of the Gulf of Mexico. That's like the only actionable thing he's done. And no, I don't support that either. No, there's not. I wish I could say that there was.
You don't support it. You don't support the name being called Gulf of America?
I do not. I do not, because it is the Gulf of Mexico, and it always has been. It's on our maps as Gulf of Mexico, and you can't change that without congressional approval again. But our Congress has made themselves unable to do anything. Historically, it has been called the Gulf of Mexico. On maps, it is the Gulf of Mexico, and I don't even understand the name change. I don't even understand why we would spend the money to change the maps, to change the signs, to change all those things when we have kids that don't have health care, when we have kids that don't have food in their mouth. Like, why would we spend that money? That goes along with all the other culture wars that we've discussed, that we, have spent way too much time talking about. Culture wars after culture wars, and naming this and that and red hats and all that other stuff that we don't need to worry about. We need to worry about making the lives better for Americans, all Americans.
And then I think it was last week, Jimmy Patronis, I'm not sure what the word he used, but if it was idiot or dumb, you're dumb if you don't agree with President Trump on this war. He said something like that. I'm sure you would know. What do you say to that?
I didn't hear that, but I think that if you can't think for yourself, I mean, you don't have to be a politico to understand that this war is not something that we need. Ask the average American if Iran was even in their scope of thinking before 6 weeks ago. We were not, again, no imminent threat, not affecting our lives, and now we have dumped way too much money into this what's going to be an endless war, because we say we're at a ceasefire right now, but our allies are still bombing. We haven't come to a concession about that yet, and I think it's a shame. So no, I can't. No. Jimmy took AIPAC money, and he supports Netanyahu, which I support the Israeli people. I do not support Benjamin Netanyahu. I think he is as off the rails as President Trump is.
Yeah. All right. And right now, just a quick announcement. Want to help Conservative Circle grow? Well, you can do that by scanning the QR code that you see on the screen. All donations are greatly appreciated. This goes to help get new equipment and grow the podcast even bigger. Now, let's get back to the episode. All right. And
yeah, Jeffrey.
What is your message, your final message right now to Jimmy Patronis?
My message is, if you can't do the job, get out of the way. He ran in a district that he doesn't live in because he knew, because he had an R behind his name, that it would be an easy win. I don't think we should hand over those kind of keys to people when they don't give a flip about us or this district. I'm telling people, take a look at me. I'm not some radical Democrat that is all the boogeyman stories that you've heard. I care about this district, and I care about all the people of this district. And I want to make sure that everyone is represented and everyone has the opportunity to vote. everyone has the opportunity to purchase a home. Everybody has the opportunity to live prosperously. I am your candidate. I want to see our deficit decrease, not increase. I want to see the ultra rich pay their fair share, because we need for our deficit to go back down now. We need to balance our budget, and we need to bring sanity back to our federal government and make sure that our Congress does something and works for us. They spend more days on vacation than they spend at work. And that's ridiculous. That's crazy. Go to work. That's what I would tell
Go to
Jimmy.
work,
Go to work.
I know. Well, thank you so much for just taking this time to do this interview. Thank you so much. And everyone that's watching, make sure you like and subscribe, and we will be back next week.
Thank you.
God bless you, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you.